We all know these. Bats. These annoying little creatures which show up in caves and do absolutely nothing useful. They don't even drop XP when you kill them, if you manage to do so, which is very difficult, even if you have hitboxes turned on. But I've found a very useful use for them. We can make decently organic terrain using bats and command blocks. So how it's going to work is we summon a bunch of bats, and then off of those bats we use the /execute command to summon a bunch of falling stained glass panes, which will then drop and start to form into a massive hill. The reason that I use stained glass panes is because full blocks have a big hitbox, and they cause this effect where there'll be gaps between all of the blocks, and this doesn't look very nice. Whereas with stained glass panes, this effect is much more nullified, and if we go inside we'll see that it is one coherent structure. Now I'm going to show you how to set this up and build this yourself. I'm going to put all the commands you're going to need in the description of the video. First, you're going to want to choose where you're building your structure. Then you're going to place your first command block down. This is the one that's going to be summoning the bats. Over here at the Y coordinate, we're going to type in the height that the bats will be summoned at. This will determine how tall the hill will be. Then, and this is an important one, we're going to need this command block, which kills all items within a certain distance of our structure. If you don't have this, then the falling blocks will break and pop off and turn into items, and then there will be tons of item entities, which will lag your game a humongous amount, which is definitely something we don't want, especially seeing as we're already going to have to be rendering over thousands of entities, around 2,000 to 4,000, because of the amount of bats and glass panes. Now we're going to build a roof for our command block control center. I'm going to be using a 3x3 because I'm only going to be using one color for this example. Make sure that it's 5 blocks off the ground, so that there's enough space for you to walk in and out later. Now we're going to put our command blocks to summon in the falling entities off of the bats. I like to use a redstone clock with 1 tick between each activation. Oop. And then we get an observer and use it to start up the clock. There we go. Now, as soon as we start summoning bats, it's going to start summoning lime stained glass panes off of them, which will then fall to the ground. Now we should be all ready. I should probably also mention how to get different colors into your hill. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into these command blocks, and you're going to want to change out the color for a different one. Now I'll be getting light blue and lime, which means I can replace them with 2 different types of blocks later. You can also throw in chains there, getting you 26. You could try using walls, but I'd try avoid those because those are actually quite big. Quick disclaimer before you activate your system. This can get very laggy, as you're going to be rendering about 2,000 to 4,000 entities at a time, so you might want to look away. Typically I can drop to around 1 frame per second when doing this. You're also going to make sure that you are being very quick with turning off the command block summoning the bats, because if you get too much, that could very well crash your world. But if you're careful, you should be okay. It's not too bad most of the time. Now, to activate the machine, I like to use a lever over here, and then we need to get 3 command blocks into our chat. First, setblock the lever into air. That way you can change it back from a redstone block when we do that. Should probably not do that yet, because we also are going to need /kill @e type equals bat. This way we can kill all of the bats and stop the process immediately. Now set this to a redstone block, and there we go. And quickly change it back to air to stop summoning bats. Ooh. I'd recommend looking away because this causes a lot of lag. As you can see, I am at 1 FPS and we are rendering just over 2,000 entities. Now, you can go and kill all of the bats. Killed 89 entities, and there we are. Our structure is starting to form. You can do this a few times until you're satisfied. I've been increasing the size of my hill, and as you can see, I've come across this problem. The spot where the bats are being summoned in is filled with blocks. And so, at this point, we're going to need to add another command block to clear the area around them so that they can continue being summoned. For the next command block, we're going to have to look at our first one. Because we're clearing the area where the bats are summoned, you're going to have to put Y values for that area there. This command block is a little higher than the first one, so I've gone for 50 above this and 46 above this, and 2 out in each direction. This should clear a nice area that the bats can fly out of. Now, once we're satisfied with the size of our hill, we can then start changing it into the blocks that we want it to be. Now we're going to use this command block, which will change all of the blocks that are 8 away from our player, and then the Y levels. This is going to be the surface level, and this is going to be how high that your tower goes up to. And then you're going to replace it with the block you want to replace it with, and then the stained glass pane color that you're replacing that block with. I've only got lime, so of course that's quite simple here. Click this lever, and off we fly. This looks absolutely horrific. This is wondrous. Oftentimes this will happen. You won't have set the Y value in the command block high enough, and then you'll end up with some few glass panes that are still too high. Just go back down there and set the second Y value higher. If it doesn't work, then set the first value higher as well, because then you might be trying to fill too many blocks for the /fill command to use. Now that our absolutely stunning hill is finished being built, not gonna lie, this is probably the worst, most ugliest of any of these I've built before. Now that it's finished, we can go and remove all the command blocks. Now that we've got rid of all the command blocks, we are finished. You can choose to leave this room empty or fill it in. Doesn't really matter. Also, it's going to be quite dark, so you might want to place a torch down. Here's an example of me using 4 command blocks so that I can get 4 different blocks for extra variation. Like this. Now we have 4 colors: red, yellow, green, and blue. We can change this later to 4 different blocks. Wonderful. And there we go. Note, you're going to need multiple command blocks if you're using different colors when you change the glass panes into regular blocks. And there we go, a multicolored one. Now that I've shown you how to make these, here are some of the things that I've made on the creative server that me and my friends have. As you can see, I use the different colors so that it varies it up, and then I get these nice cool patterns. And yes, this one was a little griefed. So, hopefully you enjoyed the video and you learned something useful from this, and you guys managed to incorporate this into some epic builds. If you use this technique for a video, please be so kind as to link this video in the description. Yeah, see you.